So the soil is very important. They like a really rich soil, so lots of manure, lots of compost, lots of mulch, really deep soil. You can plant asparagus from seed, but normally you would plant crowns, which are another 12 months older than the seedlings. So it's easier to buy crowns. They're quite expensive, so this bed probably costs $200 to plant. But asparagus should crop over about 20 years without being replaced. It's perennial, so the return on investment is pretty good if you can keep it alive. You plant the crowns in the winter, so when the crowns are dormant, they look like dried up root ball and it looks dry and dead. So you dig a trench with a little mound on top, and you place the root ball over the mound and then backfill, and you keep them spaced so you've got access between. Ideally you wouldn't plant in a bed like this 4 meters square is awkward to get through. Normally it would be rows so that you're not walking on the plants. Because it's all under the ground, it's often along a fence line or a boundary. The shoots just spring up out of the ground like you can see here, and they go really fast, so you have to be there every single day because that will grow in one day. Just like this. So these we had the weekend off, so this is 2 days growth here. So in the first year you plant in the winter, you don't harvest anything in the spring. So you leave it because you let the plants go and put these ferns on so that they can photosynthesize through the warmer weather. They are gathering energy to put down to the roots until they die off in the autumn or just the beginning of winter, and then cut everything down to beneath the ground level. You just clear the ground, and then you need to mulch it heavily over the winter as well. But the second year you take only the really large ones like this, and then in the third year you get a full production harvest and continuing on for the rest of the asparagus life. So the plant is both, there are different plants, one is male and one is female. You don't need a mix, there's no pollination required, but the male plants produce the thicker stems, so they're exactly the same but just fatter. So most people would prefer just to have only male plants. Male plants can produce flowers as well as the female plant, but only the female produces the berries, the seeds. They start off green but they turn a bright red, and then they'll fall to the ground, and they actually are viable seed. But the problem with that is they will compete then for space and nutrient and water with your other plants, so you really don't want to let the seeds drop to the ground. You want to cut the plant before that happens. If you want to select the seeds, you can grow asparagus from seed, but then it's an extra year on top, probably 4 years before you start getting a full production. And the seed is not as reliably good. Harvesting, you harvest with a knife, usually a serrated knife, below the surface of the ground. So you need to dig your knife in, and one crown, so there's one crown here, it will spread and put up a dozen shoots at this, at various times. So you come every day, and the crown might have 2 today and 2 tomorrow, and they start to come up mid-spring, and then they only harvest over a month. In the 3 years we've been growing it, there's been no pests at all, other than a break-in of chickens or something like that likes to scratch in the mulch, but no pests.